Hello and welcome back to podfic. I'm recording this just after a bit, like about 20 minutes after recording part chapter 1 part 1. So since my voice was kind of hoarse. So now we're going to chapter 1 part 2, Robin's POV. The smell of smoke and ozone clung to the metallic air of the mothership, mingled with the heavy stench of burnt oil and molten steel. Every breath scraped the throat, as if the air itself carried fine dust and glowing particles. The wail of emergency sirens echoed like an irregular heartbeat through the curved corridors, broken by the metallic pops of an overburdened frame. The floor vibrated beneath Robin's boots, not from explosions, but from a deep, steady pulse that came from the ship's very core. It was as if the steel giant knew it was dying, screaming silently with every second. Flashing red lights swept the halls in 1 second cycles, painting the world in alternate shades of blood and shadow. Between each stroke, the walls seemed to close in, casting long shadows that crawled forward like grasping fingers. Robin moved with measured steps, feeling the weight of the silence between sirens, passing the smoldering remains of metallic sentinels. The heat from either battles still radiated from the wreckage. Twisted armor plates and burst circuits, giving off an acrid electric tang. The fencing blade in his hand dripped dark oil, mixed with strands of burnt wiring clinging to the edge, like melted webs. He flicked his wrist in a practice motion, shaking off the excess before pressing on. With a sharp click, he tapped the detonator on his belt. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Wally, he said, voice steady, not glancing at the paid partner sprinting up behind him. Kid Flash appeared at his side in a rush of hot wind, kicking up flecks of dust and metal from the floor. His suit was torn in several places, face smeared with soot and scratches, and his eyes, red from the smoke, struggled to hold on to a smile. 2 minutes, till the end, Wally replied, forcing the grin. But Robin knew that smile. It was the one Wally wore when he'd already accepted the inevitable. The emergency lights pulsed, and the corridor ahead opened like the jaws of a metallic beast. From within, ranks of sentinels marched in perfect rhythm, eyes glowing red like smoldering coals. Their arms shifted with a mechanical snap, revealing spinning blades and embedded gun barrels. The metallic stomp of their march pounded in Robin's skull. He didn't hesitate. Incoming! He shouted. Wally moved first, blurring into a yellow streak. A rush of hot air trailed him, scattering the thick smoke. In less than a second, 3 robots were sliced in half, their torsos crashing to the floor, still sparking. Robin was already in motion, a batarang spinning between his fingers before sailing forward, and it ricocheted off the wall, cut through the chest plating of a sentinel, and smacked back into his palm with a crisp slap. Without breaking stride, Robin vaulted over an advancing enemy, driving his blade into the neck joint and twisting his wrist, sending a spray of sparks. 1 minute, 45 seconds. The ship groaned overhead. A long, low sound, like the metal bending under impossible weight. The tremor shook loose pieces of ceiling, some bouncing harmlessly off the sentinel's armor. More poured in from the side doors, shifting formation to encircle them. Wally blurred down the corridor, punching and kicking enemies with such speed that he left a trail of sparks in the air. Robin, meanwhile, kicked off the right wall, using the momentum to launch himself high before sending a second battering on a double arc, shattering the optical sensor of one robot and jamming the joint of another. From the corner of his eye, Robin spotted Sentinel closing in from behind. He spun, yanked the he spun, yanked the electrified cable from his belt, snapped it around, snapped around the next machine's neck. With a crack, the current surged through its body, overloading its circuits until they burst in a cloud of black smoke. Wally reappeared at his side for a moment, chest heaving. This is getting worse. Robin didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the countdown projected on his gauntlet. 1 minute, 30 seconds. More enemies, more smoke, more metal screaming against metal. And with every passing second, the corridor seemed narrower, more suffocating. An explosion rattled the floor. Heavy blast doors slammed open, spewing more automatons. Robin and Wally reacted on pure instinct. Robin rolled sideways, whipping his cable around another signal and frying its circuits with a metallic snap. Wally spun midair, smashing two more robots with the force of his own momentum. Robin checked the timer on his HUD. 1 minute. The ship was sealed, engines in override, corridors swarming with sentinels. He cycled through every possible route, every alternate plan, path, every hackable system. But he'd already run the scenarios 1,000 times. The evacuation plan had died with the others. All that was left now was to make sure no one else died because of this. If he can't get out, at least we can. If we can't get out, at least we can make sure that they don't either. The corridor reeked of smoke and scorched oil. The wiring of Sentinel's blades hummed in the distance, mingling with the unbroken scream of the sirens. Between skirmishes, Robin and Wally pressed themselves against opposite walls, stealing a few precious seconds to catch their breath. Sweat ran down the track of Robin's neck, gluing the mask to his skin. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes stayed locked on the countdown in his HUD. 1 minute and 10 seconds. Wally leaned against the wall panel, trying to ease the weight in his legs. His suit was torn in several places, soot smudged across his face and arms. He kept his gaze on the floor for a moment before speaking, his voice carrying something even between frustration and regret. Artemis would have blown this place up without a second thought, he muttered, almost to himself. Robin glanced at him but said nothing. Wally let out a short, humorless laugh. And she would have punched me right after, just to make sure I wouldn't try it alone. Robin managed a tired half smile. She definitely would have. The silence didn't last long. Wally took a deep breath, eyes drifting towards the chaos ahead. I should have asked her out. Not for a mission, not for any heroic, just for a date. Robin stayed silent, but his gaze softened. I always thought I had time. Wally went on. One more mission, one more week, one more excuse, and now. His voice faltered, and he quickly wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Now she's gone. He inhaled sharply, and when he spoke again, there was a steel in his voice. But I'm gonna make sure this. He gestured vaguely towards the corridor swallowed in chaos. Is worth it. Robin nodded. No more words were needed. The countdown hit 1 minute exactly. The hiss of the next set of doors opening cut through the moment. The floor trembled again, and Robin tasted the metallic tang of fear in his mouth. It wasn't apocalypse. It wasn't Brainiac, not even Darkseid. It was something. Something they couldn't name. Something that had wiped out the entire Justice League in less than 48 hours. Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. All of them. And now it's just us. The slam of blast doors closing behind them rang like a final note. For a few seconds, the corridor stood empty, the distant wail of alarms filling the air. Robin's wrist displayed read 58 seconds. The silence that followed didn't feel natural. It wasn't the silence of a calm. It wasn't the silence of something about to happen. Robin scanned the sides, his instinct screaming. Even the constant metallic hum of the ship had changed. The deep vibration underfoot turned uneven, if the ship itself was hesitating. Wally, still catching his breath, frowned. You hear that? Before Robin could answer, a wave of heat rolled down the corridor, making the air shimmer like glass about to shatter. Emergency lights began to flash faster, throwing shadows across the walls like trapped creatures trying to escape. And then the came the sound. Low, deep, impossible to ignore. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't a collision. It was a tear, like space itself had been ripped open. The hair on the back of Robin's neck stood on end. Wally instinctively stepped away from the center of the hallway. The floor shook again, but not like before. This tremor had a strange, uneven rhythm, accompanied by a deep, resonating hum that rattled in their bones. The air grew heavier, dragging them down as if trying to pin them in place. Then the metal head began to distort, not physically, but visually. The corridor lines bent, warping as if seen through rippling water. A tiny black point appeared, slowly spinning in place. It grew. The surface twisted in a liquid-like vortex. Its edges pulsed, spitting violet sparks that hissed when they hit the floor. Robin's eyes narrowed, a battering ready in his hand. This isn't from the ship. The portal spun faster, swallowing light and sound from the hallway. Wind pulled everything toward the center. Dust, debris, even fragments of metal ripped from the walls. And then something came through. No, burst through. The first thing Robin saw was movement. Multiple twisted arms, jagged spikes jutting at impossible angles, patches of exposed bone that seemed to ice the air itself. The creature slammed into the floor with the weight of an avalanche, denting the metal and splitting it open with showers of sparks. If its screams didn't just come from his throat, it came from every part of his body, a raw, uncontrolled sound that clawed straight into their skulls. Its eyes, if they were eyes, burned crimson, pure madness trapped in unblinking spheres. It moved like a living wave of destruction. It dug its warped limbs into walls, tearing steel plates free like paper, and crashed through an entire structural column, leaving a trail of wreckage, severed cables, and smoking circuits. Robin and Wally backed away on instinct. Just being near it felt wrong, like heat and suffocating air mixed with the stench of burning flesh and industrial oil. The creature hurled itself into the opposite wall, ripping another hole through the structure. And while its roar still echoed, the portal behind it remained open. The second figure emerged. This time it wasn't an explosion. It was almost a collapse. The boy slipped out of the vortex, dropping to his knees the moment his feet hit the metal floor. His hands braced weakly against the deck. Every moment a fight against his own body. Robin frowned, keeping the battering ram ready. Wally also moved into a defense stance, though there was hesitation in his eyes. The boy had green hair, long enough to fall over his face, soaked in sweat and blood. His green uniform was torn in several places, burns and cuts exposed. The white gloves were scorched, and a small yellow cape, now in tatters, hung from a single shoulder. He was gasping, like someone who had run until nothing was left. The sound of his breathing was heavy. Even his gaze, still dazed by the ship's light, seemed to be trying to figure out where he was. For a moment, his eyes opened wider, and something like hope flickered in them. The fatigue won. His body gave in. He fell back to his knees, almost collapsing forward. Where am I? He muttered, his voice weak, almost swallowed by the distant rumble of the ship. The words came in Japanese, strange and incomprehensible in the silent corridor. Robin and Wally exchanged a quick glance. The countdown on Robin's wrist read 30 seconds. The portal behind the boy began to shrink, closing slowly, as if time itself were being stretched by force. Robin advanced, cautiously, crouching in front of him without lowering his guard. "Who are you?" he asked in a low voice. The boy lifted his face, and Robin saw something beyond the exhaustion and pain. There was determination there, raw and unshakable, as if, despite everything, he was still ready to fight. And in the middle of the chaos, the blood and the sparks, Robin thought only, who or what just stepped into our hell? And that was chapter 1, part 2. And yeah, Robin's POV. I kind of started into a coughing fit in the middle of recording, but of course I'm not showing you guys me coughing. That would be unpleasant for me. Anyways, go check out the author, an innocent with one N _ reader. Their username will also be in the description, and I'll leave the link in the comments because I can't put a link in the description yet. And yeah, also I'll try posting bi-weekly, aka 2 times a week, maybe 3 times if I got time, but if I'm fast and got time. But school started while I'm recording this, school started for me 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I think I'm gonna so yeah, by the time I post this, it's gonna be like a month. It's gonna be like a month since I started started school, like the school started up again. So yeah, go check out the creator. Go check out the original work, After the Fall, by innocent with one N _ reader. Crouching in front of him without lowering his guard. Who are you? Anyways, that meme that goes, who are you? Wait a minute. Who are you? With that one British kid. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind, honestly.